Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jag, and in today's class, we are going to cover Math 5 and 6, and the topic is on short division. So the reason I put both Math 5 and 6 is it is actually covered in Math 5, and when you get to grade 6 Math, again, it will be reviewed one more time. Alright? And the topic on short division, the questions we're going to do are basically going to give you whole numbers here. We are going to show all of our steps as well. And the reason for that is when you're doing the long division, what's going to happen here is you might end up with a decimal, and we don't want to get confused, okay, in terms of where to put the decimal place. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to take some questions from the textbook here. All right, so let's try 465 divided by 5, okay? And if you notice here, the 465 ends in 5. So I know that it is divisible by 5. Okay. So the first number we're going to look at is the 4. I'm going to see how many times does 5 go into 4. And the thing is, it doesn't. I can't make any groups of 5 here. So I'm going to put a 0 on top. And now we're going to take the second number here. And so the number becomes 46. I'm going to see how many times does 5 go into 46 without going over, okay? And so let's try 9. I have 9 groups, okay? So I put the 9 on top here. And what we are going to do in the next step is 9 times 5, which is 45. And I'm going to subtract these two numbers, okay? So we're doing 46 minus 45, which is equal to 1, okay? And right after you subtract, okay, I'm going to bring down the next number. I always put an arrow here, just so I know that I'm bringing down the 5, and also so the teacher knows what your steps are, okay? So now we're going to do how many times does 5, okay, go into the 15. Again, count by groups of 5, okay, because that's really easy. So I could do like 5, 10, 15. So I have like 3 groups here. So I'm going to put the 3 on top. Okay, we're doing 3, okay, times 5, which is equal to 15. And again, I'm going to subtract the two numbers here. 15 minus 15 is 0. And so the remainder for our answer is going to be 0. Okay, does everyone see how to do that? Okay, and again, we are showing all of our steps, okay? Long division, where your answers are in decimals, might be a little confusing. So with that, let's try the next example here. Okay. So I'm not picking questions that are very simple. Okay, so let's try 288 divided by 4. Okay. I'm doing questions where when you're subtracting, you will get like a different answer. And that way, when you bring down the next number, I can see whether or not it is divisible. Okay, I'm going to underline my first number here, which is 2. How many times does 4 go into 2? The answer is 0. I can't make any groups of 4. Okay? So instead of using just the 2, we're going to use 28. And we're going to divide it one more time. Okay, so how many times does 4 go into 28? So I know this is 7. Okay, 7 times 4 is equal to 28. And then we are going to subtract the two numbers. Okay, so 28 minus 28 is 0. So I'm going to put 0 here. As soon as we subtract the two numbers, I want to bring down the next number. Okay. So let's bring down the 8. Okay. And again, how many times does 4, okay, go into 8? I always count by groups. Okay. Like count by groups of 4 until you get to that number. So I'm putting 2 on top, and now we're going to multiply it. I'm doing 4 times 2, which is also equal to 8. When you subtract it, 8 minus 8 is equal to 0. And I can see that the remainder here is equal to 0. Okay? And that's how you're basically doing the short division. And if you keep trying a lot of questions for short division, then when you get to the topic on long division, you won't find it very difficult. Okay? Let's go to the next question here. Okay? So let's try this one here. So it's 427 divided by 7. Okay, so one more time, I can see that the 7 does not go into the 4. I always put a 0. Okay, so I know that I'm done with the hundreds column there. Then we're going to move to the next number, which is 42. Okay, you're counting by groups of 7 until you get to 42. So I know this is 6. I'm going to multiply the two numbers, so 6 times 7 is 42. And in the next step, I'm going to subtract the two numbers here. Okay, and you notice that this is giving you like a whole number. Every time I subtract, I'm getting 0. That won't always be the case here. Okay, this just happens to be the case for the question that I picked here. Alright, in the next step, bring this 7 down. Always make sure you're putting the arrow that shows the teacher that you're bringing down the next number. Okay, and this next number is basically in the ones column. So I know that this is going to be my last step. So this is how many times does 7 go into 7? It goes in once. I'm doing 7 times 1. Okay, and you're multiplying these two numbers here. And that's equal to 7. When I subtract it in my final step, I'm getting 0. So again, the remainder is 0 here. If you get a remainder that's not 0, I have to actually make sure I write my remainder right there. Okay, right beside my final answer. Okay? Alright, so with that, let's try this last example here. Okay, so your answer is whatever you're getting at the very top when you divide the numbers, that's your final answer. Alright, so let's try 224 divided by 7. Okay, so one more time, does 7 go into 2? The answer is no, so 0. Okay, so now we're going to use 22. How many times does 7 go into 22 without going over? I'm going to count by groups of 7, okay? And I'm going to use 3 groups here, and I'm doing 7 times 3, that is equal to 21. And when you subtract the two numbers, I'm just doing 22 minus 21, which is equal to 1. Okay, again, make sure you are following these sequence of steps. Okay, in the next step, I'm going to bring the 4 down. So now my whole number is going to be 14. Okay, how many times does 7 go into 14? Okay, and you're mentally just asking yourself that as you're going through the question. And I know it is 2, so I have like 2 groups here. I'm multiplying the numbers, 7 times 2, which is equal to 14. And you put the 14 right underneath, okay, that number, which happens to be 14 here. And in this last step, okay, because I brought down the 4, which was in the ones column, I know this is the last step. I'm doing 14 minus 14, and this is equal to 0. Okay, does everyone see that? Yeah, okay, so the remainder is 0 here. So I don't need to actually write like remainder 0. Okay, it just assumed that the remainder is 0 in this case. Okay, actually, so that looks good. Okay, I want us to try maybe this one last question. Okay, and this is basically the last one. It has 6 questions altogether, and the question here actually just says in the textbook, it says divide using short division. Okay, and some teachers might ask you not to show your work when you're doing short division. I always make sure I show my work. Okay, because the long division concept is just about the same. Okay, and the teacher will be looking for your work when you're doing those questions. Alright, so I'm going to take this off. Alright, we're going to try 258. I'm going to divide it by 6. Okay, so one more time here. The 6 does not go into the 2, so I'm going to put a 0 on top. Okay, then you're going to underline the first 2 digits here, 25. So how many times does 6 go into 25 without going over? Make sure you're counting by groups of 6, okay? I'm going to put the 4 on top, okay? Because I'm counting up to groups of 4, okay? Or groups of 6 until I get 4 groups of 6. So 6 times 4 is 24. So I'm going to put the 24 underneath. And then we're going to subtract these two numbers, okay? So 25 minus 24, which is equal to 1. Okay, what's the next step right after that? I'm going to bring down the next number, okay? I'm going to bring down the 8, so put an arrow there, okay? And my whole number here becomes 18, okay? How many times does 6 go into 18? And I know the answer is 3, okay? As soon as you write the number on top, Okay, I'm going to just multiply. So 6 times 3 here, 18. And I'm going to subtract the two numbers in my last step here. So 18 minus 18, which is equal to 0. Okay, so again, I can see the remainder is 0. Okay, this is short division. So in short division, usually it does not involve the decimals. You'll see decimals when you go into the long division content, and we'll make sure we actually cover the content on long division within the next video. All right. So that looks good, and that brings this video to an end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I will see everyone next time. Thanks. Bye.